June 2026, and welcome to a video of the Federal Alliance of Southern Africa. We've had some comments on Friday's video, and I must say I'm quite surprised. Friday's viewer status on YouTube went to 1,095 views, and I'm sure it's not finished yet, because we are looking at a nation that's a failed state, and everybody is grasping, looking for answers. And we at the Federal Alliance of South Africa, or Southern Africa, being a non-political organization, we know we have the answers. We know we have the answers, and we know that our main focus, or the main thing that's holding us back for completing what we need to complete and doing what we need to do, Andrew, good morning, is simply finances. It's the major obstacle that we have in completing and doing what we're doing. You see, there are many speakers out there, many guys on Biz News and other podcasts where they speak about self-determination, they speak about processes, they speak about the current government and all that, but none of them have a plan. And I've been saying that over and over again, and the videos do show that I keep on saying this. And I would suggest that all those who have viewed the military and the military units video, that you go onto the Federal Alliance YouTube page, go subscribe there. The Federal Alliance YouTube page, go subscribe and go listen to our other videos and see how we want to do this. See how we want to go about perfecting what we have, right? So today we're going to touch another topic. I had a look this morning again at all the topics that we've already touched on, and I'm coming back to the policing method, or in our case, the peacekeeping method. To be a peacekeeper and not a policeman. A policeman works for the state. A peacekeeper works for the people. That's the main difference, right? So we're going to have a look at the United States policing method, and we're going to borrow from them and see what units they have in their core, and we're going to see if we can improve it, enhance it, do better. All right? Do better. Let me just have some coffee. This mug really keeps the coffee nice and warm. So we want to improve on that. Okay? I've got 14 pages of things to work through, which I'm not going to do with you today. The first 8 pages concerns the New York police and how they do it. Their ranking structure and their promotional structures and all this. And then we're going to look at how it compares to the South African structure. Our South African structure is totally overweight. Totally overweight, right? John, good morning. How are you doing? You're still in Oz, John. Where are you now? In any case, our policing structure is totally overweight. So we're going to look at certain units in the USA structure and how we can adapt this to the South African scenario when the time comes, because we need change and we need it drastically, right? Drastically. The white tribe in South Africa, and we call ourselves a white tribe, it's not just Boere and Boere Afrikaners and so on. It's also the English, South African English-speaking people. There are many, right? There are also Irish and Scottish and Wales and New Zealanders and Aussies and all English-speaking white people living in South Africa. We are all under the same threat. And we've seen how this idiot has been blowing up the internet with their threats and their red uniforms, and they're going to do this and they're going to do that with the foreigners, etc., etc. The only thing, the difference between the white South African and the foreigner is that we will shoot. We won't hesitate. Right? You come knocking on my gate with sticks and knopkeries, they'll be dead. Okay? You'll be dead. End of story. But with the African immigration into South Africa and the way these guys are flooding African neighborhoods, let them have black on black, what's the word I'm looking for? Geweld in Afrikaans. Let them attack each other. Let them do that. Right? And we just sit on the sideline and watch them take each other out. Let them do that. Make it much easier for us when the time comes. Nevertheless, we need a different policing model. And we don't have to copy-paste, but we can learn from what is out there, what is overseas. And as I said in the previous peacekeeping policing video, and please go and subscribe if you haven't, go and look at the previous policing video. And what we need is a totally different strategy, and we need the input. Thank you, Andrew Violence. More Mani. Good morning, Mani. We have a different setup here in South Africa that needs to change. And we can learn from them, and we can adapt and change. So let's have a look at the core operational structure. What I wanted to add, we need guys like the Japanese police keeping force to update us in their training and etc. etc. There's a lot of things that we can learn from other nations, and we just have to do it. You know, we cannot rely on old policing methods in South Africa. That time has come and gone. All right, so the core operational structure. U.S. police departments, Johan, good morning, are typically organized in major bureaus or offices, right? While the names vary, the structure is often similar. So they start with a patrol division. You've seen this in various movies. They go out 2 by 2 and they walk the beat cops, right? The backbone of the department is responsible for responding to calls, enforcing laws, and maintaining a visible presence in the community. That works perfectly for us. In the peacekeeping scenario, that works perfectly. 2 by 2. They go out 2 by 2, right? Investigation divisions. This is the detective bureau, responsible for conducting in-depth follow-up investigations of major crimes like homicides, robberies, sexual assaults, that type of thing. Then you have specialized divisions like houses, tactical, SWAT, K9, and traffic enforcement. Right? Looking at our traffic enforcement side, all our traffic cops can do is pull you over, see if you have a license, and then bribe you. That's what they do. Right? Unless they are a little bit more clued up, and they are starting slowly but surely to wake up. I like the story of the one white guy that was pulled over, and they asked him for a bribe, but they was trying to stop a lot of cars. So he said, how much? So they said 1,000 or 2,000. So he said, wait, let me count it. Where must I put it? So they said, there's a bottle behind the tree, plastic holder. So they went and they pulled some other cars off. So he went behind the tree with the bottle, took all the money, put it in his wallet, and left. He emptied the plastic. And it's a true story. All right, he took the money because it's not their money. So he took it. Right? Nevertheless, we need to get rid of this rubbish. We don't want units pulling people over for traffic fines and stuff like that, and licenses. Those days must be gone. If you have a license, you get it once for 5 or how many years, and you go to the services division of the traffic department, and they check through your vehicle, and they say your vehicle is still fine, here's the report, or they tell you what to fix up, and you have a month to fix it up, and you go fix your car, sort it out, but you never have to have another license. Once the item is licensed, end of story. Okay? Once it's licensed, end of story. And it will be so marked that if there is theft taking place, that we will be able to track the car. We'll have parts marked where they cannot get rid of all the parts. It will be impossible. We'll find that vehicle. Right? We'll make it so freaking hard for anybody to steal a car. In any case. So we have specialized divisions. We have administrative and support services. handles the internal workings of the departments. So let's have a look at some of the specialized units found in the US police departments, and perhaps you can think of how we can adapt these, right? We have the category, we call it the unit category. We have tactical and emergency response. The specific unit would be SWAT, Special Weapons and Tactics. That's what SWAT stands for. Special Weapons and Tactics, if you really need these guys. Handles high-risk operations such as hostage rescues, barricaded suspects, and high-risk warrant service. That means if you need to take somebody out, right? These guys can do it. Then you have the CNT, or the Crisis Negotiation Team. Works in tandem with SWAT to peacefully resolve critical incidents through communication and de-escalation, negotiation, that type of thing. That's very important. Then we have another one that's seriously important. That's the Explosive Ordnance Disposal, the EOD. Explosive Ordnance Disposal, or in plain English, the bomb squad, right? Responds to and safely mitigates incidents involving explosives or suspicious devices. Then we have the CID, the Criminal Investigation and Suppression category. The CID is the Criminal Investigations Division, or the detectives. They investigate major crimes against persons and property. Major crimes against persons and property, right? And in them also you have different divisions. You have homicide division. You have robbery divisions, right? These are different divisions within the CID. Then you have the Vice or Narcotics Unit. We see in South Africa an escalation of narcotics use. We see even Mexicans starting to brew narcotics, fentanyl, in South Africa. And how many Africans are being caught at Oliver Tambo or other ports like in Durban, and we find that they have lots of drugs on them. We also find labs in various places in South Africa. This is something that we have to stamp out. Drug smugglers, drug manufacturers will be hanged. That's it. End of story. We catch you making drugs, we hang you. All right? If we catch you dealing drugs, we hang you. Because you are a slow murderer. So we will get rid of you quickly. You can be slow in murdering people and we will kill you quickly. End of story. Get rid of you. If you don't want to learn, tata bye-bye. That's it. No two ways about it, right? The Vice and the Narcotics Unit, they're also divided obviously into drug trafficking, prostitution, illegal gambling. So there's 3 different divisions there, and it often involves the undercover world. There's a lot of undercover operations taking place in these units. But if you have a system in a country like the United States, where everything really is based on humanity. Now let's be really clear about this. Their human rights says that it doesn't matter if they murdered somebody, you have to still take care of them because they didn't know what they were doing and rubbish like that. Okay? So they built their whole system around this idea of humanism. To take care of the dog that bit the baby. Right? They built their whole system around this thing. And we are going to de-escalate our system and then introduce our protective forces in such a manner that none of those things will take place in South Africa, or very few. Our crime rate will go from 100%, 100 and 200%. Not that there can be a 200%, but you know what I mean. It's just too much. To 0 as far as we can, or 0.111, whatever. We want to bring it down in such a major way that a criminal will think 50 times before he does what he wants to do. He must really think hard in South Africa before he commits a crime. Right? And even if we drop our crime rate to such a level, we still keep our operations units sharpened and updated and fit and ready, just in case something stupid happens. All right? Then we have the fugitive unit. If somebody wants to come and hide out in South Africa, or we have somebody that's running from the law, and we'll find them. tasked with locating and apprehending individuals with outstanding warrants, often collaborates with federal agencies like the U.S. Marshals. Now, if you look at the United States system, they have a lot of different groupings. They have U.S. Marshals. Like, for example, in Texas, you know about the Texas Marshals, right? We know about these things. You have the Rangers. You have the FBI, which is internal investigations. You have the CIA, which is external investigations and intelligence, both those units, right? You have the DOD, Department of Defense, which is another one, right? Then you have the one that's just based, solely focused on the narcotics. You have them. They are all involved trying to play this game of humanity. They're all involved in that. Right, then we have the cyber or the digital forensics unit, recovers and analyzes digital evidence from computers, phones, and other electronic devices to support investigations. We also have the forensics unit that it's basically the same department, but they handle different things, right? Then they have specialized patrol and traffic. They have a traffic unit that enforces traffic laws and investigates motor vehicle collisions and that stuff. That's a simple job to do. The K9 unit deploys highly trained police dogs for suspected hijacking, trafficking, narcotics, explosives, detection, public demonstrations. Bring in the dogs, right? Who let the dogs out? Who? Bring in the dogs, baby. And there's a special breed of Alsatian that's actually a better dog than what we have in the South African police force, or what we had. We had a certain type of Alsatian in the South African police force, but there's actually a different type of Alsatian. It's this Alsatian is, I can't remember the name of it, but my brother-in-law has 2 of these dogs, and they are a thinner type, and they have a sharper face. They are very, very intelligent. Very, very intelligent. So, if these dogs are trained properly, they will be highly effective. We'll have a beautiful K9 unit going forward. Then you obviously have air support and aviation. Provides aerial surveillance, rapid response support, tactical assistance during critical incidents. And then you have the marine unit, which is also the coastal patrol unit. Patrols the waterways and harbors to ensure maritime safety and security. We have our harbors, and we need a marine unit. Our marine unit will obviously not be a major unit because we don't have major ports, but we will, or a lot of major ports. But we can have sufficient boats, craft in the seas to patrol our borders. Right? We can patrol our borders. Man, when I look at the United States' military might and their police might and the things that these guys have, we are so pathetically behind with the world. It's not funny. It's not because it just irritates me. Community and special events. Civil Affairs Unit serves as a neutral mediator during protests, labor disputes, large-scale public demonstrations to ensure constitutional rights are protected. Right? We don't have to have public demonstrations when the time comes. The public can announce a referendum. They go to the referendum office or to the ombudsman, and they say they want to hold a referendum. We say, okay, good, you have 50% plus 1 people that are interested in this referendum. And if they say yes, then there's a vote that goes out. It's as simple as that. We're going to keep it simple. Then we have community outreach, or POP. Works on problem-oriented policing strategies, builds relationships with the community to address localized issues. Works perfectly for the peacekeeping force. Perfectly. We even have SEER, which is a special events and emergency response. Coordinates public safety at large events like festivals, concerts, and during emergency situations. So we can all have all these beautiful things in place. Then you have support and administration, you have internal affairs. investigates complaints of misconduct or corruption within the police department itself. The Internal Affairs Department must be separate from the Peacekeeping Department, 100%. As a matter of fact, the Internal Affairs Division should be a civilian division that can check data, check facts, see what happened without being influenced by police mannerisms, right? Protecting our brothers. If the policeman or the peacekeeper is a murderer, then we have to catch him. Simple as that. So you have internal affairs, then you have professional standards unit, oversees compliances with policies, accreditation, inspection, often manages programs like body-worn cameras. So there's that, but there's a whole lot of other units as well. Like units making sure that we have the right badges, the right medals, who gets the next medal, recommendations, all these kind of things. It's quite a specialized thing, which we do not have in South Africa. This is a modular structure with its specialized and often civilian-led units. As I mentioned, provides a model that can be adapted to address specific public safety needs in different contexts, right? So what I did next is I said, okay, let me have a look at the different ranks in the United States policing, and we have a look at the ranks in the South African policing, and we compare these two. So you have your police officer, which is your flatfoot, or your beat patrol. It's entry-level rank. You have to go through this. It performs routine patrol, responds to calls, enforces the laws, and conducts traffic stops. So you use them in both capacities. Then you have the police officer, the police detective. He's the investigator, he or she, often in plain clothes, assigned to specialized units like homicide, narcotics, fraud, to solve serious crimes. Then you actually have a police corporal. It's a first-line supervisor who oversees a small team of officers in the field and mentors less experienced personnel. So if you watch a series like The Rookie, you'll understand what I'm saying, right? You have either a police sergeant or a police corporal that takes the rookie on the beat patrol, and they train them, they teach them, they ensure that they are qualified, right? Then you have your police sergeant, a supervisory rank overseeing a squad or a unit, responsible for training, performance management, and ensuring procedures are followed. You have your police lieutenant, an administrative management role, may oversee multiple units, manage budgets, and assist captains. You have your police captain, a senior manager typically in charge of a precinct or a specialized division like vice or homicide. A police captain will be in charge of that. Then you have your deputy chief or assistant chief, an executive level rank assisting the chief in managing the department's major bureaus. Then you have the chief of police, the highest ranking officer, responsible for the overall management, strategic direction, and budget of the entire department. So if you watch a series like Blue Bloods, for example, you see this whole structure in New York City, right? The whole structure. From the patrol officer to the chief of police. The chief of police has a major rank. Then you have variations thereof. You have sheriff departments on county level, rural level. The sheriff is usually an elected official. State police, often called state patrol or highway patrol, tend to follow a more military-style hierarchy with ranks like colonel, lieutenant colonel, and major. The guys on the outside there, right? But those are still things that we need to determine. Now, in South Africa, we have a more centralized national hierarchy. Okay, you'll be familiar with some of these things. You have the constable, the entry-level rank. You have the sergeant, supervisory rank. You have the warrant officer, like we have, some of you are. You have the lieutenant, the captain, the major, the lieutenant colonel, the brigadier, the major general, the lieutenant general, and the general or the national commissioner. You see that we have far more ranks. Let's just do a quick count. In the United States, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 ranks. That's it. In South Africa, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 8 ranks as opposed to 12 ranks. Right? So we must see how this aligns and how this features going forward when the time comes. We have to break out of the old mindset. We have to break out of the old mindset. Let's have a look at the key differences. At a glance, we have the system type is decentralized, 18,000 local, county and state agencies with their own structures, and South Africa is centralized as single national police service. We want to decentralize it. Every state must be able to take care of its own people through certain procedural methods. Highest rank in the United States is the chief of police or a sheriff or a colonel superintendent of a state. Then in South Africa, it's the general or the national commissioner. And you've seen how many different generals we have in South Africa. Aina, good day. Rank origins vary. Some are civilian, others are quasi-military. In other words, you've been in the military, now you're coming to the police force. Explicitly modeled on a military-style structure with ranks matching the SANDF. That is the South African way. United States, the commissioned officers, the concept of commissioned ranks is less common. The system is more administrative. You work your way up. South Africa divided into senior management and commissioned officers from lieutenant to general. Right, let's have a final read here. The US police system is a fractured landscape with thousands of independent agencies, each with its own rules. Now, we can't have that. We must have set rules so that they can interweave. In contrast, the SAPS operates as a cohesive military-style national force with a strict unified chain of command. The problem with this system in South Africa is that the SAPS command chain can easily fall under the corrupt government, as we've seen now. The SAPS command chain with 1 or 2 specialized units are totally controlled by the current corrupt government. There's no two ways about it. And it's like a police force. It's like a defense force or a national army or whatever, right? They operate that way. We are in charge and you are just rubbish, right? Where the civilian must take the highest priority. The peacekeeper must keep the peace. That's all that they're supposed to do. And specialized units must take over where necessary. And they need certain procedural rules so that everybody's on the same page. But they have a job to do. And the job must not be dictated to them by the governing body. If they do what is right, follow the procedures, all right, do their job, then everybody can live in peace and harmony. So we need to define a new model. So when I upload the YouTube video and you have comments to make the comments, all right? Tell us what you think. How do you think this unit should look like? How many men? How many women? Administrative. We know what we cannot have currently is what we have in South Africa, is these big fat African women trying to command you from behind the desk. Can hardly get into the staff vehicle. Right? Can't run. Can never catch a criminal. But they can eat Kentucky until it comes out of their ears, man. We don't want that. That is pathetic. That is rubbish. All right? I know that there are some good people in the South African police department at this current moment. There are good people. There are people that are really trying to make a difference. They're trying to do their jobs. There are some of them. But unfortunately, the majority is not on the same page. That's the problem we have. They bow to the corrupt government officials. Guys like Julius Malema should have been locked up years ago and the key thrown away. Years ago. Zuma, for his corruption, should have been locked up years ago. And there's about 150 to 300 of them that they are going to be locked up and sorted out when the time comes. But to do this, we need your help. Join the Federal Alliance of Southern Africa. We are not far from reaching our goal. We are not far. We have this week, we have a meeting coming up. That's an important meeting for the formation of the Boer state. That's an important meeting. And it will be closer to the end of the week. But we will be having this meeting, and there the Federal Alliance will say what the Federal Alliance has to say. So, we need this in South Africa. If we do not bring change to South Africa, ladies and gentlemen, we as the white tribe, there's only two things that's going to happen. You're either going to have to immigrate and immigrate quickly, or you're going to die. That's your choice. That's your choice. The greatest part, the biggest section of this nation that we're living in belongs to the Boer. That's the truth of the matter. When we came into this country, there were nomadic tribes in the Cape. And there were Nguni tribes in KwaZulu-Natal and down the coast, other side the Fish River. And they were not that big. Tswana tribes were in Botswana. The Sotho tribes were few. Sotho tribes were few and more concentrated in Lesotho. Swazi is part of Zulu. They're the same family. Dlamini, Mzizi, and all these other minis. So if we can get them on the page where they go back to their historical lands, and there will be some consensus and there will be some negotiation, but if we can get them all on the same page, we can have a successful story of one sovereign nation under God. Different nations. One sovereign nation with different nations under God. Where every nation is controlled through self-determination. Self-determination. Working out their own paths with supervision. And eventually the supervisory board will simply become a singular entity that hardly has anything to do with the states, because they will be so involved in various aspects of life that if any problems arises, a major national defense force will be able to stand up in minutes and do what's necessary. We can do this. We can have a prosperous South Africa. A prosperous South Africa. Right? So, first we are Freelanders. Then we are Boere. Boere Afrikaners, Englishmen, Irish, Scottish, Venda, Pedi, you name it. We are South Africans. And with God, unity is strength. There's no other way. God first, always. In every aspect of your life, if you can do that, you'll be successful. God first. In every aspect of your life. Then you will be successful. Okay? Keep well. Blessings.